You know, aside from all the first-person shooters and the high-speed street racer emulators, I always find myself coming back to some mythological shit. Whether it be games like The Witcher, or the old God of War games, or maybe sometimes Skyrim, I always find myself going to that little medieval-like section of the gaming genre. RPGs are probably one of my favorite video game genres, and plus, as a person who loved Harry Potter growing up, you can imagine my excitement when I first heard that we were getting a game called Hogwarts Legacy, which is basically a Harry Potter role-playing game. Hogwarts Legacy is a third-person RPG released on February 10th, 2023, for Xbox and PlayStation, of course. And despite being technically a Harry Potter game, this game actually takes place in the 1800s, a good 200 years before the events of Harry Potter. We'll get into how I feel about that later. To make matters better, it's a story-based single player, so the priority of this game was campaign and campaign only. The game opens up like this. We get a letter from Professor Weasley saying that they want us to be a 5th year and enroll as a student in Hogwarts Academy. Now, after a brief introduction to the customization, we're thrown into the story. During this introduction, after the customization, we're introduced to our mentor, Professor Fig, who's here to grab us from London and bring us to Hogwarts. Now here's where shit gets kinda tricky. In between our flight from London to Hogwarts, our flying carriage is attacked by a dragon. It's split apart. Now us, Professor Fig, and the other professor who was with us, we're all flying through the air, falling to our death. Now obviously we land safely, but after landing, the professor uses some sort of key that he found in the artifact to teleport us and him to Gringotts, our first interactive environment in the game. Now, I'm not gonna lie, as short as I'm making this all scene, this whole intro, like ceremony included, well, before the ceremony, all this is like 30 to 45 minutes, for me at least. I'm just giving y'all a brief breakdown, because there's a whole bunch of things that happened within this mission before we got to the Hogwarts ceremony. There were numerous puzzles that we had to solve. Well, I'm lying, there's like 2 or 3, while also fighting a number of waves of enemies, while also learning new spells and tricks to help us get out of Gringotts so we can get to Hogwarts in time. Now, going back to our intro, we're also introduced to our antagonist of the game. Well, our antagonist so far, a goblin named Ranrock. He's attempting to steal the artifact from us, which is basically the key that we used to get there, but Professor Fig ain't having it. Now, before Ranrock and the goblins have time to kill us and take the artifact, Professor Fig teleports us to safety after some sort of disruption happens within the caves. With all the disruptions out the way, we're finally able to head back to Hogwarts, where we can begin our hat sorting ceremony and pick what house we belong in. Now, I'm not gonna lie, at first I got Slytherin, but I didn't like them, so I chose Gryffindor. Yes, I'm picking. And just like that, our journey as a Hogwarts student / wizard is set in motion. Now, the introduction to the game, in my opinion, was slow but necessary. I wish it didn't last as long, but throughout the intro, they tell you everything you need to know and do in order to get through the game, at least game mechanics wise. They show you how to get through the spells and cast them by using the analog sticks and the buttons. They show you basic forms of combat and movement, while also teaching you how to rearrange spells that you unlock. The intro gives you a step-by-step guidebook on how to master the game, so even if you might find it a little slow, just know you need it. Now, something I wondered when I first started playing the game was how they would handle the combat. Any type of main combat that happened throughout the Harry Potter movies and novels was always through wands. There's no guns and swords to help you in this game. Everything that you do is based around magic, and they implemented that in the combat, in my opinion, perfectly. See, the basic form is the right trigger. That's what we're first taught. You know, you tap the right trigger and you do a little combo here and there. Now, when I was introduced to that, I thought that was kind of lame, because I figured that mixed with like the okay spells they gave us in the beginning was all we were able to manage with when it came to combat. But as you go forward in the game, when you start unlocking more and more spells, the combat gets better and better. Aside from the basic trigger tapping, the spells are a main component in the fights. You can use spells to freeze your opponents mid-fight. You can use spells to blast your opponents with balls of fire. You can use other spells to bring in your opponent and finish them off with like a flame spell, you know, like combining spells in order to attack, while also mixing them with your basic attacks. And to make matters even better, all these combos that you're doing fill up a little blue meter at the bottom above your health meter. And if you get that blue meter up high enough, you can do like some sort of crazy ass special move. Think of it as like a Blazin from the Def Jam games. Once you get your meter up and you unleash that finisher, it's an instant finish. Well, depending on how high of a level the opponent is. There's also a pretty cool counter system that I think kind of reflects the Arkham games. Like if there's an orange signal above your head, that's for you to press triangle. You have to time it at the right time so you can not only counter it, but deflect it back to your opponent. And there's also red meters. The red meters, you can't counter them. You have to press circle in order to dodge them. If you press triangle, you're gonna get hit with it. And funny enough, the AI kind of has their own little counter system. If they have like a red orb or a blue orb or a yellow orb around them, you have to choose a certain spell in order to break that counter so you can attack them properly. You can also use potions and liquids in the game in order for you to either raise your health or raise your defenses. And as little as I use them, they help a lot. Potions, among other things, can be found in shops throughout the villages in the map. You unlock them fairly early in the game, so you ain't gotta worry about going through a whole bunch of missions to get to them. Unlike potions, however, you have to unlock spells a different way. See, in Hogwarts Legacy, they really want you to feel like a Hogwarts student, so in order for you to learn new spells, you need to learn them in class. Or you can do other missions, like missions that are handled like assignments given from teachers in order for you to unlock those spells. There are times where you're in the middle of a classroom and you're doing an assignment. In order for you to do that assignment, you need to learn a spell which the teacher teaches you. Or you can be minding your business in the middle of the street and you get a note from your teacher saying, hey, I want you to learn this spell. This is how you're going to do it. And now you have tasks you have to complete in order for you to gain the requirements to go back to that teacher and have them teach you that spell. Think about it like this. Remember how in Bully there was classes that you can attend? I'm talking like classes outside the main story, whether it be dissecting a frog or doing math. It's kind of like that, but a lot better because it actually gives you incentive. Kind of like Bully, some of these classes are side quests and not exactly part of the main mission, but unlike it, when you do them, you get incentive, you get something out of it. They give you something to help you with the main stories. And in Hogwarts Legacy, the incentive that I'm referring to is spells that you can use to unalive people. And these spells that you get really do help you throughout the game. Whether it's disarming enemies or attacking them, they play a very huge part in the combat. Speaking of combat, something that they also implemented in this game that I didn't expect them to, well, I kind of did, was boss fights. I didn't know this game was gonna have them until I think it was like the second boss fight I had, when I had to fight some giant knight in a cave. I think I was like, what, 10% into the game? And it's part of the main story. Like, it was fun as hell. I had to fight a wave of the smaller ones first in order for me to get to the big one, and I'm dodging his attacks. I have to think smart because if I don't think quick enough, he can one-shot me because his health is so much bigger than mine and I'm kind of sort of a lower level. It was fun as shit. I wish they did a little more with it, but it was still kind of fun to play. Another cool feature I noticed in this game was the loot boxes. Like, loot boxes, you can find them anywhere. Main mission, side mission, or just free roaming. They're literally all over the map. And they got everything from like high-ranking gear to wand handles or to large sums of money. If you don't feel like paying large sums of money in the villages, you can just go loot box hunting and find what you can throughout there. It's like another reward system in a way. Now, the one thing that you might need to go to the village for is for brooms. Now, the brooms is another cool feature in this game that I really want to get into. It's another form of transportation. You get to the brooms after you unlock them, that little mission, the broom introduction mission. You know the broom class you had at Hogwarts. They pricey as fuck, so you gotta get your money up if you're gonna buy one, but they're worth it. The controls are simple as hell and they save mad time. Especially if you don't feel like fast traveling everywhere. If you want to take the scenic route from Hogwarts to the village, I think the broom is the way to go. There's not too many options for brooms though in this game, but the option is there nonetheless, so I'm not going to complain. Now, remember how I said in the beginning that this game was set in the 1800s and that there's like no Harry Potter? Yeah, we gonna get on that. So this game has nothing to do with Harry Potter whatsoever other than the world that it's in. And I think that that's amazing. If anything, I think it helps helps make the game stand out on its own even more. Mainly because the story of Harry Potter was already kind of concluded in the movie, so there's nowhere else for you to go unless you want to create a whole new story game-wise. If you had made this centered around the cast of Harry Potter, it wouldn't have been a Hogwarts game, it would have been a Harry Potter game. I feel like with this one, by making an RPG set before the events, making it its own thing, it allows it to flesh out more into like a series. Kinda like with what Star Wars did with the Old Republic. Yes, there were still characters from Star Wars in the game, but in a way it still served as its own property and its own story. And it allowed the Star Wars franchise to spread out. That's how we ended up getting games like The Force Awakens. Or was it The Force Unleashed? I don't know, it was like 10 years ago. The point is, by taking out Harry Potter, this game was given the opportunity to be something of its own. And I think if this is handled properly, this game could be the beginning of its own little Star Wars franchise. By that I mean they have a collection of games outside of the main stories of movies. Side note, and this one's kind of small, I'm kind of hoping that they add a multiplayer to this game eventually. Not saying I have a problem with single player, like I love it. I just feel like this game has a really good opportunity within the multiplayer realm. Like, you have your own created characters going up against other created characters in PvPs. I can see us doing challenges like broom racing, or hell, even just building your own little group of wizards and going up against other group of wizards. Player wizards, obviously. So far, it's just an idea. I don't see them implementing it, but I would love to see something along the multiplayer aspect happen, especially when it comes to PvP. I was excited for this game when I first heard about it, and as a person who's been playing it for the past few weeks, I'm glad I bought it. Like, this game has met a lot of my expectations. And hopefully, if you decide to pick it up, I hope it meets yours too. But hey, that's all I got for y'all in this episode of Reggie TV. I feel like I'm missing something, but we gon' probably remember it after I upload this video. I don't know. But I hope y'all enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed making it. I think I might make a bully video next. Either that or Max Payne. I know I had that in the poll like 2 months ago, and I think Max Payne won. If Max Payne won, I think I'm gonna just do a Max Payne video. But for now, that's all I got. I'll see y'all in the next one, man. Peace.